Hey guys, here is the gear for today. I'm going to go back and revisit the Marrakesh, maybe run it a little bit less wet this time, see what happens to the kind of the creaminess and the density aspect of it in the latter part of the shave. I've got the Gillette spoiler, a vintage blade. We're going to put it in the, I think it's what, the version 7 of the Pearl Flexi adjustable razor. And then I've got a new brush to me. I've never tried the Lotus handle shape of the Paladin, and so it'll be nice to see if finally I've discovered a Paladin shape that's ergonomic for me. The knot seems to be nice and soft, and hopefully that will agree with me as well. He's been soaking for a little while, and looking forward to trying him out. I don't think I've tried that knot code before. I've gone through about 4 or 5 different Paladins over the years, looking for the one that had the right combo for me. Unfortunately, a lot of the Paladins have shorter handles, and so that puts me at a kind of a disadvantage right away. But let's just see how it goes with this one. Good news is I bought it used. I can sell it used, and often you don't even lose any money. Maybe a little bit of shipping costs, something like that. Okay, I enjoyed the scent of the Marrakesh when I used it before, and so that's refreshing. I do have another one. I looked in my info for Mystic Water, Sweetbriar or something like that, and that's one that I definitely have on hand somewhere. And I really like that scent. It wasn't super strong, but I like it. I've set it on 3 today. The razor got 1.5 days of growth, maybe. I mean, I guess it could be 2. I took a vacation day today and just kind of did a bunch of errands and just kind of laid around, and it was a good day. And so time doesn't mean as much to me right now. All right. The brush, like I said, has been soaking. Let me get my face wet, and then we can get going. So I did 45 seconds on this a few days ago, and the surface is a little tacky, so as I've always said, you can change your load times if you load the same soap consecutive days, because you'll leave behind a little bit of water each time if you load with a even just a lightly wet brush. So I'm going to pull this guy out. He holds a good bit of water. You see all that? I'm going to shake most of that out. And let's do like a 35-second load. Oh yeah, 5 seconds is going to roll around right there. This will also give me a chance to feel the backbone. It does kind of feel like it's got a little bit of backbone. The guy who sold it to me said that it did not have a lot. So we'll see. Problem with the Paladins that I've had, I did have one that was perfect, but I sold it because of the handle. And the rest of them, either the tips are perfect and it's got too much backbone, or vice versa. The backbone's perfect and it's got tips that are just not all that soft. So there we go. Now the surface of the soap here, it definitely has some kind of wetness. You can see it move a little bit there. I think we've probably loaded plenty of soap on there. So let's just give that a shot. The Lotus handle here is a little sharper. See that corner right there? That's a little sharper and less comfortable, at least for my fingers, than the PK47 handle. We'll just have to see how everything pans out at the end of the shave. You can't always judge a brush by the ergonomics of a handle by the first few seconds you use it. Sometimes, sure, you can, but sometimes your body just gets used to it somehow, and it compensates. And matter of fact, I remember the first time I used the Simogue Owners Club type handle. That, like here's an example of it right here. They use that shape in many different models that they have. And at first it bothered my fingertips a little bit, but I just kept using it, and in just a few uses, really didn't take very long at all, it was just fine, no problem. This feels a little like a thicker handle than the PK47. I think in this case that's probably a good thing. And the rule that I've been following with Mystic Water is not a big departure from my method, but it might be a big departure from certain people's method, where I don't come at it with a lot of water in the brush. And then when I do bring the brush to it, to the soap, I as you can see, I loaded it pretty much as normal. But then when I got it to the bowl, I worked it for a while before I added any water. This backbone here, it may be a little bit better than, see, when I say better, I usually mean easier, more flexible. A lot of guys, when they say it's got great backbone, they mean it's stiff, or at least it's stiff in the right proportions to how they like it. And so I think that's a very deceptive term, especially when you're new and you haven't learned that that's kind of a keyword. You know, like when you're dating somebody and the old sitcoms would always make fun of when you say great personality, it means she's ugly, right? Well, it's kind of the same thing. If somebody says it's got great backbone, what they usually mean is it's got high backbone. And they just happen to be a person who likes high backbone. This is a black handle, but it's got some little iridescent things in it. Maybe that's the graphite, color that Paladin uses. So I like the spices coming through, and whatever I used last time I shaved, the aftershave that I used, let me see if I can think about it. See if I can remember it, because man, it sure was a great match. Now that 35 seconds, I have stirred up lots of lather. I pulled up plenty. Look how stiff that peak is. He's thin. He's holding himself up. Okay, look at the peaks in there. There are thin, fairly well-defined ridges still. So even though I'm about at the water point that I was last time, in terms of how much I added, and I actually loaded for 10 seconds less, I think what probably happened is I could have loaded for less, because there was some resident water in the soap that helped, and then this brush has more backbone than the brush that I used the last time. And see, instantly we add that water and you can see it change. But I'm going to make sure we get a nice consistent mixture here. HD Shaves did a few shaves with Mystic Water. I sent him some samples. He's He's just a great guy. It was a pleasure to send him stuff because he sent me some stuff to try out as well. And it's always good when you can kind of return the favor, return the in the spirit with which it was intended. And he was able to try it. He came back with a little bit less excitement about Mystic Water than I had in my brain from the last time I used this soap. And I explained it the last time, but the short of it is that it seems that my recollection of it was a lot more amazing of a lather than at least this one is, and he had the same effect. It just it's not quite as good as Sterling, and it's definitely not the slickness that it provides is very serviceable, like many soaps that are out there, like many good soaps that are out there. But there are a good many that are better performing. The pros of Mystic Water are she's got lots of scents to choose from. She's got in each scent, she's liable to have a bunch of things of that scent, even more so than just a splash or a balm or something like that. Last time I checked, there were extra stuff the kinds of things like candles or wax melts or deodorant, or just the whole kind of almost like Sterling does, where they really broaden out their line. Now, don't quote me on any of those things I mentioned, but that's the kind of thing it's in my mind. She gives you a lot of alternatives, ways to enjoy a particular scent. Strength is also, if you like scent strength that is kind of on the low side, if you have skin sensitivities or that's just your preference, then a lot of hers are going to be right up your alley. Third pro about Mystic Water is they're one of the few soap companies that do send out refill pucks, and so you can buy the first tub of something, or even get a piece of Tupperware and never buy one of these and buy the puck and smash it down in your Tupperware. You can just do whatever you want to. She has a generous sample program, probably better than most, not quite as good as Sterling in terms of the quantity that she gives, but that Sterling's just above and beyond generous, right? And so that's a hard one to measure up to. But so I would say her samples are very generous. All right. Let's get some water on my face. The lather, I'm not taking it as wet as it was before. You can see some textures on the surface of the lather, and most of the time you don't see that with my lathers. But I'm just treating it a little differently this time to see what we get. Now, I was using the Blackland Era recently for several shaves, and I registered some of the ways maybe it didn't fit me as a shaver, but other than that, it was just a lot of good stuff to say about it. Here's the opposite in a sense, of the Era. In the terms of the safety bar here, it's a comfortable safety bar. There's lots of material. With the Era, you don't feel the safety bar as much, so it's a different feel. If you like more, it's hard to describe because it's not really more blade feel, but it's just less. It's just less safety bar on the Era. Less safety bar contacting your skin. So we'll see if that makes that experience changes how I enjoy or don't enjoy the Pearl Flexi. Will it make the Flexi seem like it's touching my face too much? Like it's a big slab of metal moving across my face and not really a shave? Now, I'm working in this lather here, and one of the problems with these dense brushes like this kind, the center can empty out of the lather, and so you have to do this lather rotation thing where you work it out of the center, and then you do some people roll it on their chins, but obviously I don't need to shave that part. You roll it off the sides and create yourself a pile, then you press that center into the pile. That's one way you can do it. This is something that I'm having to do more in this particular shave because I am running this lather a little more dry. Let's take a little bit of water, sprinkle it on the brush. It is a backbone level it's near medium. I guess I'm going to have to say it's a little bit above medium. I think I'd be okay if I was stuck having to use this brush. The tips aren't crazy soft like some treated brushes. The handle sure is slippery right now, and so that's going to give me a good test to see if my hand is kind of worn out by the end of the shave. It's having to work so hard to try to maintain a grip, on this Lotus handle. Working the lather into my skin. Sure would love to find a Paladin that I enjoyed using. Oh, you know what? I've got a Paladin soap right over there. They had a big soap sale, like they were turning off their soap business, is what I thought a couple of years ago, and so I bought a bunch of them. It was a great price, so I don't feel taken advantage of it all. But then now I look on their site and they've got their soap on there. I don't know if they just chose to bring it back or what. It's good performing soap from what I recall. And I don't know, maybe they're still selling their stock and it's just taking a long time. I mean, the soap artisan crope type shaving soap industry has a lot of people in it. A lot of competition there. A lot of good makers doing their thing. Again, I'm loving the spiciness here. It's not overly spiced. It's not sweet, but it's not overly pungent. It's kind of right in that middle ground. I'm enjoying it. And let's see, Pearl Flexi. The big gripe about the Flexi is that its handle, its weight is substantial. The Era may have a head that may need a little bit more attention to the safety bar, at least according to my preferences. And you know what? I'm going to take this opportunity to let you guys know of an email I got back from Shane. Shane is the guy who does the Blackland razors, and he's a classy guy. He's focused on good customer service. He's focused on making sure that he gets you a product that you're going to like. He's got a guarantee that if you don't like his stuff, you can just send it back to him. I think it's inside of 30 days. And so I didn't hesitate because of that with the Era. I liked the underblade support that the Era was going to offer. And then I knew about his personal business ethic. And so I pulled the trigger on the pre-order. And, I sent him kind of the same criticisms that I put forth online in my recent videos. And he's a classy guy. And I wasn't harsh. I was just like I was in the video. I talked about the positives. I commended him for the kind of the genius of his whole design plan. And I just explained in as constructive as way as I could, like I try to do on the videos here, the part of it that was the flaw for me, that didn't quite match me. And what a classy guy. He responded. It was amazing. He appreciated my thoughts. He was glad that I contacted him. Get a good little splash of water here. And one of the things that he mentioned was he had tested the Era with hundreds of people, several hundred people, and never really had anybody reply back with the issue that I was mentioning about the safety bar. My issue is that the safety bar, like I said earlier, just to be clear again, is that it kind of cuts away and it doesn't contact your skin very much. And the problem that gives me is that it makes it feel more edgy. You can actually feel it feels a little edgy even when you move the razor across your face without a blade in it. And they're very, I don't know of any other razor that does that. Now, some people may like kind of an edgy feel, and that's okay, but that's not what I enjoy. And what I said was that if, and here's the thing, little graphic aid here. Here's the Era. There's this corner right here on the safety bar. And so you see there's, on this terms of the safety bar, what's going to hit your face? A very small patch of metal. All the other razors, virtually, are rounded at the safety bar, and so that's a larger piece of metal that's touching your face, and that affects your perception of the razor. It affects whether you think of it as moving across your skin smoothly, that sort of thing. So after a few shaves with the Era, I just found myself not really wanting to reach for it anymore. Now you may ask, Sugar Daddy, and it is so funny sometimes when you call yourself your own username, isn't it? A lot of you guys call me Sugar in the comments, and that is just fine. Sugar, why are you mixing this again? Well, you know what? That first pass had that airy lather that HD Shaves was talking about. And I said to myself, let's add some water and let's see what happens. I tried backing off of the water a little bit to see if that helped, and it did not. The lather I made last time was much nicer. So that's what I'm doing. I'm integrating maybe another teaspoon or two of water that I poured in during the break. All right, let's get to it. Like I said, with this brush, the tips aren't really all that soft. Yeah, see, especially right now, I'm not really feeling. I think it's worth me putting a few more shaves into with maybe a more high performance lather that has kind of a creamier feel to it, that kind of thing. But yeah, this one, man, and so what I assumed after using this last time was that my recollection of Mystic Water was just not as good as the soap actually is. I guess it's possible that maybe she did some kind of formula switcheroo because some years have passed, and maybe I was using the old version that was better, but it may not be the case at all. Now, from that first pass, I don't recall feeling this as too much metal touching my skin, so I am pretty happy here. Yeah, see, that's more the way it should be. It feels smooth. Oh yeah, and something else an example that perhaps helps to try to communicate my point a little bit. One of the things about the Era, one of the things I really look forward to during my shave is the third pass, or the last passes where you have taken down 95% of your stubble and you're now moving your razor across your face and picking up very few hairs. almost like I am now. And to me, it's this wonderful, when you get a good lather, it's this wonderful experience where it's almost like the award for a job well done. And with the Era, because of that little safety bar design, I never get that kind of clean feel. I never get that super slick skating across ice feel. All right, rinse. Hey, on the smoking news, you faithful followers will know that I've mentioned cigars a few times, and that this year, starting a few months ago, I started getting into cigars, especially the low end price point of maybe $1.50 per cigar by the time you add everything up, because I'm kind of liking smoking it at least once a day, and I can't afford a $4 or more than that a day. Now let's put on this third pass of lather. And had some good cigar experiences. I think I've found some good value cigars. I'm just starting, and so my opinion doesn't matter worth anything in terms of what's good and what's not. But I am moving into pipes, potentially. I think actually one of the smells that I'm seeking as I've been trying different cigars. Here we're going now for the third pass. I'm keeping it on 3 in terms of the aggression setting, the adjustable here. I think the smell that I'm going for, the sweetness of the tobacco I want, may be found more in the pipe arena. And then I discovered today as I was looking that pipes are a lot cheaper per smoke, it seems. At least the tobacco that I'm looking at, than cigars. And so that would be great. Get the same effect, I do think pipes are a little more douchey looking than cigars, so if I grow to like pipes a lot, I don't think I'll be getting rid of the cigars anytime soon. I mean, I guess about the only guy who looks cool smoking a pipe is a dude with like all gray hair, an old dude. And I guess I'm heading that way, right? We definitely got plenty of gray here, but just about anybody else looks like a total doucher, right? Smoking a pipe. And I might be heading toward the douchebag realm myself if it turns out to be an enjoyable smoke flavor and that sort of thing. Plus, let's kind of feel around a little bit while we're talking. Plus, my dad had a couple of pipes that I saw growing up, and it would he did not have any double-edged razors to pass on to me. He kind of switched to the electrics pretty quick, and the disposables. But he's got some pipes. That'd be pretty cool. And it seems like it's pretty easy entry, like shaving. You don't have to spend a lot of money shaving. You can buy yourself a tech razor, or like a vintage. This is a new short comb, and these can be found for, $10-20 on eBay. And a good soap here, Mystic Water is a good price. Sterling, is a wonderful value soap. $13 or so for almost 6 ounces. And so it doesn't have to cost a lot. Now, of course, many of us get into it big and we buy a lot of soaps. We don't need to, but we choose to have that as a luxury option. But but pipes can probably be that way too. You could buy a bunch of different tobaccos, or it seems like they're expensive pipes and not expensive pipes, but It does seem like there are pretty inexpensive ones, and so it looks like I'll be able to try the hobby out, try that activity out without too much expense. So yeah, I did the math on a couple of the tobaccos. It looked like it cost just about a dime per smoke to pack the pipe once, just a dime for certain tobaccos. Now maybe they're the ultra cheap ones, but even the next level up tobaccos were it cost more, but it was just like 50 cents per bowl of tobacco smoked, you know. So that's nice, right? Okay. So we'll see if the 50-cent price point cigars, I don't think they're going to match up to the 50-cent pipe smoke flavor. I think I'm going to have to upgrade to $4 or $8 cigars if I want to try to compete with that, 50-cent pipe flavor. So it may have the edge in terms of economy. So I got a nice close shave. The brush here, I'm on the fence about it. It did not really, as I moved my hands and fingers along the brush tips, they kind of feel soft, but that's deceptive. When I stop and maybe make them reverse direction a little bit, I start feeling how there's not really a whole lot of gel there. They're not super soft. I think a lot of people might find these perfectly soft, but I might prefer them to be just a bit softer. But I am going to try this brush on a different soap. And then this, sure enough, this was not really an enjoyable handle. However, compared to the Paladins that I have, this might be the one that I keep around. And again, we'll see if I get used to it. It's a pretty handle. I like the ebonite. Oh yeah, right there you can see some of the sparkly stuff inside the blackness. And yeah, it probably has more backbone than I might like. Now, as you can see, it's not snapping back 100%. However, it's just so dense. It's such a dense brush. If it were just a little bit less dense, it would probably be at a backbone point that I would enjoy. I think a lot of the density with this one, as it turns out, is because of the backbone. Well, life has been crazy busy the last couple of weeks, and so I haven't, you'll find that I have had shaves that were 2 days of growth, 3 days of growth, that sort of thing. And that's just the way life is, right? We all have priorities, and the shaving hobby itself is kind of low on the list compared to some really important things like family and kids and that kind of thing. All right, so there we go. I'm going to get a good rinse here. I don't have any irritation at all, That's the 3 setting on the Pearl Flexi, so it was definitely a good choice for me to take down I guess a day and a half, 2 days of growth easily, and I got a nice close shave to boot. And it looks like, boy, the spoiler, turns out it works really well in the razor. I kind of forgot to evaluate that, but as I'm thinking about it, it's pretty easy to remember that there was just nothing bad about the shave at all in terms of the blade. It worked well with the razor. A good pairing of razor and blade here. And no alignment issues. This is the version 7. I think the version 5 was the first one I bought. And it had, but a simple workaround, I was able to center that one properly on a reliable basis. And so, but I went ahead and contacted Pearl, and they sent me the 7, and I'm very happy with it. Don't have to worry about blade alignment at all with this one. So they did their magic. Let us. We are going to put on Thayer's Lavender. This is the toner that's got some witch hazel. People call it witch hazel, but it's really mostly aloe with a little bit of witch hazel. All right, so here is this Paladin Lotus brush, and I took and gave it a good rinsing. Since it's so dense, I made sure to give it extra rinse time to get in the middle part, get all that lather out. you can see it's definitely a bulb shape. If it had more of a fan shape, it's possible that it might feel a little better in terms of the backbone, a little easier to display, that sort of thing. You will see a badger open up gradually over time because you can see these outliers. More will join out, and so a badger will change a little bit. And so here you can see this is not soap accumulation. This is what's built into the handle. Just a nice little texture in there, almost like, fish scales or something kind of iridescent and jewel-like, really pretty cool. And then on the back it says Lotus Select Badger, handmade, and then Paladin. So I think the black is classy. The Lotus shape lends itself to a face lathering grip, such as putting it in your palm like that and then reaching up and touching the indention up here. But I'm a bowl latherer, and I also don't like to get my fingers up in the lather as much. And so then I usually hold a brush back here. And sure, that sharp corner right here that a few other handle models have bothered me with. And so I don't really expect this to change, but we'll use it a few more times to see if maybe the knot agrees with me a little bit better, and the handle too. Man, it's really be a shame because they're really quality brushes. And so there's nothing wrong with it. It's just that, you got to find the one that matches you, right? All right. Paladin. Okay. So the setting 3 on the Pearl Flexi was terrific for taking down the hair and giving me a nice smooth face. And we already talked about the brush and how it did as I work on putting on the lavender toner here. And again, the lavender seems to have been a good choice because the scent is very minimal. And as many of you know, lavender is a medium or small component in many soaps out there. And so in the it's not going to overwhelm any soap, especially any soap that I use, since I like stronger ones. And it's going to actually work well with many as well. So that turns out to be a great choice. And the brush, we talked about that. The razor, we talked about the soap as well. A little bit disappointing, didn't quite live up to what it was in my head. I'll try to find, at some point, I'll try to find another soap and give it a shot. This one does say with shea butter and lanolin, and so who knows, she may have changed her mix. But there we go. Maybe I was just lathering differently back then. That's also possible, something I posited, that maybe my lather standards were different, and so it met up to them a little bit easier the last time. But I remember being just stunned at how an unknown soap was so good. But that's definitely not the kind of soap I've experienced these last couple times. There we go. I think we're good. You guys, take care. I hope there's something in this one to help you out. It sure is good to get back in my usual little spot here, even though it's like 3 a.m. When I started the shave. And I'm riding a little bit of a caffeine high thanks to some Diet Coke, but I could have gone right to bed, but I missed talking to you guys. I missed this part of my routine. I also had the high of trying something new as well to come to here. And there we go. Oh, the final word on how much water was used. I pumped it up, and we're looking at 27 milliliters of water used during that lather. 35-second load. And of course, that's going to depend on how many consecutive uses you've got on it. If you just use it once a year, obviously you can pretty much treat that as ground zero, but you can lessen your load time if you use it for a whole week or 2 weeks. Eventually you'll hit that equilibrium where the soap's not taking on any more water from your brush. But that, of course, is if you're taking a wet brush to the soap and not scooping. There we go. That is it. That's today's shave. All the best to you guys, and we'll see you then. See you next time. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. Take care.